Hey there, curious minds. Welcome back to the Stuff You Should Think About, the podcast where we dive into those everyday questions that seem simple, but surprise, often have mind blowing answers. I'm your host, G, and today we're padding through the Arctic tundra, braving the icy winds and polar bear territory to answer a question that sounds like a riddle. Is a polar bear's fur actually transparent? Wait, transparent? Not white? Not fluffy? Transparent like glass? Like a window? That can't be right, can it? Well, what if I told you it sorta is? Stick around because this episode is going to thaw out one of nature's most clever illusions. And trust me, you're going to want to hear this. All right, let's start with what we think we know. Picture a polar bear, majestic, towering, gliding across a snowy expanse, white fur glowing in the Arctic sun. You see that image in documentaries, kids' books, logos, you name it. White, always white. But here's the thing. Here's where it gets slippery. That fur, it's not actually white. In fact, each hair shaft is made of something closer to clear plastic than cotton candy. Yep, a polar bear, his fur is transparent. Let that sink in. Imagine if your hair were made of hollow glass fibers. That's essentially what's going on here. Each individual hair on a polar bear is hollow, colorless, and get this, transparent. The outer layer is like a clear tube, and inside it's mostly empty space filled with air. So if you were to pluck a single hair from a polar bear, don't please. Seriously, it's a polar bear. Hold it up to the light and look closely. It's like looking through a tiny straw. So why does the whole bear look so brilliantly white? Glad you asked. It's all about light. See, when the sunlight hits the transparent fur, something magical happens. The light bouncing around inside all those hollow, translucent hairs, a process called scattering. Specifically, it's me scattering, named after the German physicist Gustav Mie. Fun fact, he really exists. I didn't just make him up to sound smart. Unlike, say, Rayleigh scattering. That's the kind that makes the sky blue. My scattering doesn't depend on the wavelength of light. It scatters all colors equally. So when white light, which contains all colors, enters the fur, it gets diffused and bounced around in every direction, returning mainly as, you guessed it, white light. It's like having millions of tiny light diffusers all over the bear's body. The result, the bear appears white, a perfect camouflage for blending into the snow and ice, nature's version of a high-tech stealth coat. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about what's under the fur, because believe it or not, a polar bear's skin isn't white either. I'll give you a second to guess what color it is. Come on, give it a try. No, not pink, not gray. Nope, it's black. That's right, pitch black. Now, hold on. Are we supposed to avoid black in the sun because it absorbs heat? Well, exactly. That's the genius part. Polar bears don't just rely on insulation from fat and fur. They also evolved to use solar energy. Bears powered solar panels. If you will, the transparent fur lets sunlight pass through down to the skin, and that dark skin soaks up the heat like a sunbather in a black swimsuit. It's a natural solar trap. Even in extreme cold, this system helps the bear keep warm. So, transparent fur plus black skin equals Arctic efficiency at its finest. Think about that next time you complain about your slightly too thin winter coat. And speaking of insulation, let's talk about the fur structure a bit more because it's not about color or light, it's a full on Arctic survival suit. Each hair is about 5 to 15 centimeters long, made of keratin, the same protein in your hair and nails, but specially adapted. The hollow core reduces weight and increases insulation. Air is a fantastic insulator. Remember, that's why your down jacket works so well. Trapped air equals warmth. Plus, the fur is incredibly water repellent. Polar bears spend a lot of time swimming. We're talking miles and miles in freezing water. Their fur sheds water quickly and traps a layer of air next to their skin, helping them float and stay dry in between dives. But here's a fun twist. Despite how fluffy they look, polar bears don't actually have much fur in their traditional sense. What we see as thick, plush fur is actually just a top coat of guard hairs. Underneath, they have a short, dense undercoat. But compared to other bears, their overall hair density is relatively low. Wait, what? Low density in the Arctic? Yes, because the real MVP of their warmth is their fat. A polar bear can have up to 4.5 inches. That's over 10 centimeters of blubber. That layer of fat does most of the heavy lifting when it comes to staying warm. The fur, it's more about protection, camouflage, and solar gain. So, in summary, transparent outer hair, black skin, hollow tubes for insulation and light channeling, and a body wrapped in blubber like nature's down comforter. It's like the bear version of a high performance environmental suit designed by NASA engineers, except evolution did it first. And now I know some of you might be thinking if the fur is transparent and the skin is black, why don't they look like weird, shiny black bears with glass hairs? Great question. Remember, we're seeing the aggregate effect of millions of transparent hairs all scattering light. Individually, each hair is clear. Together, they create a diffuse white appearance, kind of like how a snowbank looks white even though individual snowflakes are clear ice crystals. It's an optical illusion of epic proportion. And it's not just polar bears. Other Arctic animals use similar tricks. Take the Arctic fox. Its winter coat isn't pure white pigment either. It's a mix of translucent guard hairs over a dense undercoat that reflects light brilliantly. But polar bears take it to the next level. There's even a phenomenon called green polar bears. Yes, really. No, they're not mutants. In rare cases, in captivity, polar bears have had their fur turn green. How? Algae. In warm, humid environments like zoos, if the fur gets damp and stays that way, microscopic algae can grow inside the hollow hairs. The algae use the light filtering through the transparent shafts to photosynthesize, turning the bear, well, a bit greenish. It's like nature said, hey, you've got free solar tubes, let's colonize them. And while that sounds gross, it's actually a testament to how effectively those hairs transmit light. The algae needs light to survive, and the hair is literally guiding it down like fiber optics, which brings up another fun fact. Polar bear fur has been studied by scientists for fiber optic inspiration because really, here's a biological structure that changes light to efficiently insulates, repels water, and helps regulate temperature. Engineers were killed for that kind of multifunctional design. So maybe one day your internet connection will run through cables inspired by polar bear hair. You heard it first here. Okay, maybe not, but it's a cool thought. Now, before we wrap this up, let's quickly squash a myth. No, polar bears are not see through. I know that sounds obvious, but I've seen the meme. Polar bears would be invisible if their fur wasn't white. Nope, not how it works. The fur scatters light, yes, but it still reflects. The bear is invisible because of that reflection. It's not transparent in the way a fishbowl is. It's translucent at its best, meaning light passes through, but not clearly. Think frosted glass, not window pane. And remember, the skin is black, so any light that doesn't scatter gets absorbed. Very little, if any, passes all the way through the bear. You're not going to x ray a polar bear and see its organs glowing through the fur. That's more sci fi than science. Still, the idea that such a massive, powerful animal relies on such a subtle optical illusion, that's the kind of thing that makes me fall in love with science all over again. We look at a polar bear and think big, white, cold. But beneath that simple surface is an intricate system of light, heat, and biology working in perfect harmony. It's not just about surviving in extreme conditions, it's about thriving through elegant, invisible design. And hey, next time you see a photo of a polar bear basking in the sun, take a second to appreciate what you're not seeing. The invisible dance of photons inside glass like hairs, the warmth trapped beneath black skin, the ancient evolutionary tweaks that turned a regular bear into an Arctic powerhouse. That's the beauty of nature. Even the things that seem simple are often anything but. So, to answer your original question, is a polar bear's fur transparent? Yes, technically. Structurally, fundamentally, yes, each hair is transparent. But the effect of millions of those hairs scattering light makes the bear appear white. The fur's transparency isn't a bug, it's a feature, a brilliant life saving solar powered feature. And that, my friends, is stuff you should think about. Thanks for joining me on this frosty journey into polar bear secrets. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review or share it with someone who loves fun facts as much as you do. Got a question you've always wondered about? Send it to us wherever you listen to your podcast. We might just feature it on a future episode. Until next time, stay curious, stay warm, and remember, sometimes the clearest answers are hiding in plain sight.